you give me 5 seconds? I need to refill my beverage.
Yeah, refill it.
Fill it on
Be right
air.
back. I'll be right back.
All right, fill it on air.
Live on air. Chris filling his beverage.
Ciao Ciao. Ooh, everybody, and welcome to Horror Ciao Ciao. The
Halloween
first
in July.
Halloween in July. We're doing horrors tonight,
That's right.
and
That's why I
Eric's
came
here.
back. Yeah. I heard we were doing horrors.
Eric's here because he heard we were doing horrors and giving away universal titles.
You know. Just give it to me. I mean,
Hey, as long as Roman Reigns could job for people whenever the hell he feels like it, the world's a happier place, right?
just teaches you kids don't do drugs. They'll make you job out.
Just take naked selfies of yourself and start banging someone else at work so your girlfriend posts them on Twitter.
No. Like that's never happened to any of us.
Nope.
All right.
Ciao, ciao, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Ciao, ciao.
This is the first horror Ciao Ciao, and tonight we are doing Zombie, or Zombie 2, or Zombie Flesh Eaters.
Zombie 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Crap, did I watch the wrong movie?
You might have. What movie did you watch?
I just watched all of those just to make sure, just to cover my bases.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys caught it, but if you have or have not, for those of you who are Patreon subscribers, who are awesome and the greatest people in the world, you've already heard Cannibal Ciao Ciao, Ciao Ciao Radio, Western Ciao Ciao, and I think that's it. So
I thought it was going to be Cowboy Ciao Ciao.
It was going to be, and then Zoe really threw a fit over it. And then I'm like, well, how about we call it Ciao Ciao Bang Bang? And then she really got up and walked off.
Yeah.
So we finally decided Western Ciao Ciao makes the most sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing up that wound there.
I know.
sir.
I'm sorry. I know you said you were sleeping on the couch one night, but you wouldn't lie. And I guess now I know.
I think Ciao Ciao Bang Bang is a fantastic name.
Okay, here we go. Woot! Sanders, hello. Ahoy! The Wolfman. And Creep, do we even want context for the note the show started out on? No.
Was I back yet?
I don't know. I'm a little confused now.
I think it was when you were ranting about WWE, which I apologize to everyone out there listening now that he's back on that train again.
Yeah.
Me.
I'm on the train.
Yeah.
The O train.
We haven't mentioned wrestling in the last 10 episodes.
Let's see.
And we haven't had Eric on in the last 10 episodes. So, where's the connection?
I don't know. I thought that there weren't any other episodes besides this one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. True enough. We're splitting hairs, but that's okay.
Right.
Splitting short and curlies. So anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to the people who have subscribed, because I was going to do that on the last show, and then I didn't have the thing in front of me. So let me see. Hopefully I won't fuck this up. So thank you, Wolfman, Jefferson, Mikkel.
You got this.
Nope. Wait. Michael Bell. And crap, I know I'm forgetting somebody. Did I say Glenn?
I don't think so.
Glenn! So, just want to thank you guys for contributing. You guys are awesome, and we love you. If you let Chris, do it. He will massage you.
I will.
Eric already watches Lucha Underground pretty religiously, last I checked.
I do.
Something about sex tapes on Twitter. Aha! Yes, that was in reference to Seth Rollins, the architect. If anyone wants to see his pecker, it is online somewhere.
I know Chris was asking about it the other day.
Who's Pecker?
Huh?
Somebody's Pecker?
Yes. And just so in case everybody knows, Jason is the Wolfman.
Right.
Hell yeah, he is. Oh, and I forgot to even say this. Shit. I wonder if I'm going to fuck this up too. Oh, I'm totally going to fuck it up. So on Sunday, July 31st, we're having our first Ciao Ciao roundtable, and we're going to have the Wolfman on. We're going to have Richard, who wrote Jalo Meltdown, on.
Oh, wow.
And Brian from the Jalo Room.
Oh, man.
And we are going to be just discussing Jalo topics.
That's a star-studded cast.
It is.
When's that happening?
That is on Sunday, July 31st in the morning. It's like a meet the press kind of thing. So I'm going to be dressed a little nicer maybe.
Okay.
Maybe have a little bit of goo in my hair.
Is there going to be a brunch?
A little bit of brunch, a little bit of mimosas.
I'm going to be on my way to the Eyeball on the big screening that same morning.
Really?
Dun, dun, dun.
Which, by the way, I recorded the Eyeball commentary, and we'll be putting that up soon. So,
Nice.
is there any other updates about anything?
Well, I just have to say that I got this giant bag of chewy, sour sweet tarts. I'm holding it up. And it's a resealable bag, which is really silly because why would you ever want to close the bag? I don't know. But what happens with these is they're so addicting, and they burn a hole in your tongue. Like the more you eat them because they're so sour, and I can't stop eating them. I'm going to pay for it tomorrow because I'm going to have like
A big old canker.
yeah, tongue hangover, basically.
That's why there's a close to the bag,
Yeah, I just closed it, so
you don't eat the whole thing and burn your tongue off.
Is Sweet Tarts one of our Patreons?
Yes,
it should be.
now they are.
They are now.
Awesome.
Sweet Tarts, Fiat, and J&B.
I also want to mention that this half gallon of Pure Leaf unsweetened iced tea was completely full around 2 o'clock this afternoon.
Okay. So you're liquidating yourself. Is that what it's called?
Liquidating?
Yeah.
Hydrating?
There you go.
This
It's not really hydrating because
Bombay Sapphire,
with
delicious.
tonic or just gin by itself.
Tonic. I'm not a fucking barbarian. Okay.
You just play one on TV.
Yeah.
But yes, getting back to the news, the wonderful folks at Exhumed Films will be screening the all Italian horror this Sunday, starting at noon. The very first episode, the very first movie will be Suspiria, followed by Umberto Lenzi's Eyeball.
Yeah.
So I am going for both of those. The third film is Fulci's Black Cat. The fourth film is Mario Bava's Bay of Blood. No, sorry, Barren Blood. If it was Bay of Blood, I probably would have stayed. And then the fifth film is Sergio Martino's Torso. So for anybody that's in the Philly area, they mention on their site that you should be able to get a ticket on the day of the show because it's not fully sold out. The other news for the Exhumed Films folks, it's unfortunate news. They had originally procured the reels for the original 3 Star Wars films before the special editions, before the remastered, before the anythings, the originals, and they were planning on showing those, I think, August 28th or 29th. It was a Saturday. And something happened where I guess 20th Century Fox said you're not allowed to have them, and they pulled the reels from the group, and apparently they're pulling them from everybody. Like, they're not letting anyone show any of the old Star Wars films unless they're special editions or later. So it's really bad news for most of the people who got tickets, because they they were hard to come by, and it was a big deal to have to make sure that you got those tickets. And now the bad news is they're not screening them. The consolation prize is that on that same day they're going to do a Herschel Gordon Lewis film marathon. And Herschel Gordon Lewis is going to be there. He's like 80-something years old. He's going to be in the audience. He's going to be doing commentary before and after the films and taking questions. So it's certainly not the same as what people were originally intending to go there for the Star Wars thing. But imagine going and watching Blood Feast or 2000 Maniacs or Color Me Blood Red and being able to, like, hear the director talk about it. I can't even imagine. Those films are so bad, but they're fantastic. I obviously they're great because they're so bad. So that's what's going on with me, and I'm not going to that, but that's what's going on around my neck of the woods, should we say, so to speak.
And that's it, right? There's no like political conventions or anything like that.
Yeah, there's a few like Democrats down near the Wachovia Center, where the Flyers play hockey, talking about uniting the party and whatnot. I don't know what they're talking about though, so I'm not paying too close attention.
HGL is the best way to unite people.
I think so too. Either that or Jar Jar Binks.
Well, that was lovely. Eric, do you have any updates?
Any updates? Well, after a couple months away from the show, I was hoping to have a bunch of news to come back with, but nothing. No Italian horror fests going on in Minnesota or the upper Midwest that I can find. I did almost spend like $200 on the Herschel Gordon Lewis box set from Arrow, but then I kind of backed off on that once I realized I had decent enough copies of them, and I don't need to go all crazy like that anymore. So that's all I wanted to bring up about Herschel Gordon Lewis, but yeah, that's it.
I got a poster signed by Herschel Gordon Lewis, and I couldn't decide which poster I wanted to get, and he started yelling at me because it was time for him to go get a sandwich. And he's like, "Come on, hurry up! Which one do you want?" And I'm like, oh God. And I think I got Color Me Blood Red, just like, because I just slapped my hand down on it. And he's like, Jesus! And that was the end of that. I'm horrible when I meet people. Okay, Sanders has a question here. It says, what is this Giallo Ciao Ciao merchandise that is mentioned on the Ciao Ciao Network website? I think it mentions discounts on merchandise as a part of Patreon, which I should hopefully have a membership to shortly. Good question. The merchandise is stuff that we are going to be coming up with here. Probably the first thing of merchandise is going to be the end of August. But the Ciao Ciao papers will be available August 1st, and that's the little fanzine thing. So that'll be splendipity.
It will be. Very splendipity.
I can't think of anything that's more splendipity than that.
I think a universal title kind of takes the cake on stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, that goes without saying.
Yeah,
We should give away a universal title on here on the show,
we should. We should give one away every week.
like to whatever filmmaker we think deserves it this week.
Anybody.
So Fulci's getting it.
I'm going to give it to the Domino's guy if he
Oh,
gets it in the next 20 minutes.
Or isn't it free if he doesn't, though?
Yeah.
Fuck, no, they stopped doing that like in the 80s, dude. Like,
Yeah.
Once
All
the
right.
Turtles popularized it.
Yep. So, tonight, we are going to be talking about one of my all-time favorites, and I'm sure it's one of our all-time favorites as well. Lucio Fulci's Zombie.
Oh, wait. Sorry.
What?
I made my own sound effects and then realized I didn't have to.
Here, let me do this. Okay, that was really good. We're pretty amazing. So, I don't know about you guys, but this was one of the first Italian anything movies that I had ever seen. So this one goes back a long way with me and has a fond place in my heart. Do you guys remember the first time you saw it?
Yeah, it was one of the first ones I saw too. It was either this or New York Ripper. I can't remember now. I do remember I watched both, and they both confused me with the dubs because I didn't know that they actually had English dubs over it. I knew they were Italian movies, but I thought that they would just be American actors for some reason. And I'm like, what's with the voices? Why aren't they matching their mouths? And that's how I first became engaged with English dubbing of Italian films. But that didn't detract from my enjoyment of this film. I think I like it more with each watch. I know that's kind of a cliche thing, but usually I was into the first 45 minutes of this movie every single time I watched it, and then kind of lost my way with it towards the end. But this time, for some reason, I really just liked it the entire way through. So that's something different maybe on this one.
It's a barn burner.
Ha ha ha! It sure is.
Oh shit, that's a good pun. I didn't even notice that.
Very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Thanks, guys. So,
Well,
Chris, what
Church
about
burner.
I honestly, it's so funny that you've asked this question, like, what is your history with the film? Because I am sad. It's sad for me to say that I can't remember back that far in my life. Isn't that terrible? So, yeah, I mean, I think I was probably somewhere around 12 or 13, and I was just starting to get into horror films and The Evil Dead and Dawn of the Dead and Night of the Living Dead, and then Zombie eventually made its way into the repertoire because they were all these films were all grouped together. I'm sure, I'm almost positive that the VHS cover had a major influence on me anyway because I think it's a picture of that bald guy with the worms in his one eyeball, and it says, "We're going to eat you." I think that was what the original VHS cover looked like when you.
the one looked like when I was like staring at it at the video store.
Yeah.
Alex said, my earliest memory of Zombie is seeing the killer box art at the video store. Something about the photo just advertised gruesome. It 100% did for me, too.
Yeah,
it was just one of those boxes that I saw every time I went, and I was always like, shit, should I rent it? Should I do it? Should I get it? Should I go? And then finally did it.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't remember specifically enough for me in my history where things started. Like, what was the very first zombie film that I watched? It probably was The Evil Dead, which isn't really a zombie movie, but kind of is. But then again, I don't know. Because Dawn of the Dead was one that I watched pretty early on.
That was the first one I saw.
That movie is long, so I don't remember watching it all the way through the first time. I think because when you're that age and you've rented videos that you're not really supposed to rent, you don't necessarily get a chance to watch them all in one sitting. And then I think I had to return it, so I don't remember. Like I remember watching Dawn of the Dead and getting as far as when the motorcycle gang comes to the mall and takes over, and then I don't think I watched any further than that the very first time through. But anyway, Zombie for me was very close to that time period, and I think it might have been the first Fulci film I'd ever seen. Although I'm trying to remember if
It was for me.
it might have been Gates of Hell. That might have been the first one. No, I think it was Zombie. I really do. So, and sitting down watching it tonight, and I actually did sit down and watch it on my big TV about 2 hours ago. It's fucking great, man. It's such a great movie. I forgot how great it is, and you go through and you're living in this 2016 era of The Walking Dead and everything else, and this movie is so fucking great still. It's intense. It doesn't suffer. Like I don't feel like it suffers from its age. I mean, you can see like that some of the zombies look hokey a little bit from the makeup, but it's still got all that intensity. It still has all of that kind of tension, and because it takes place on this island, it's supposed to be hot and sticky with bugs flying around. I feel dirty when I watch the film.
Yeah.
Like not dirty like the kind of dirty where you've stolen your older brother's porno mags. Like dirty like I need to take a bath. Like I need to wash the germs off me kind of dirty. And that's the way the movie kind of makes you feel. So
with the mangy dogs in the street and the people in the hospital
the fucking
beds.
people in the hospital, dude. That was just too much for me, dude.
With like vomit on their shirt.
Yeah.
Alex asks, "What is your preferred title for the film?"
Oh, this is great. It's a great question.
I really think Zombie Flesh Eaters is a great title, but I think because I was just raised with it just being zombie and that being like, this is the zombie movie. Like,
right.
No one could touch this. This is fucking zombie. I think that's going to be my favorite, but Zombie Flesh Eaters is a fucking good fucking title for sure.
Yeah. And I kind of like the authenticity, or I don't know if it's authenticity, but just the accuracy of calling it Zombie 2, simply because
I hate that.
You don't like Zombie 2 at all. Like I like that they called it Zombie 2 because they called Dawn of the Dead. So they took the cut of Dawn of the Dead, and Argento went in and recut it to make it faster and more fast-paced, and they called it Zombie with just a Z-O-M-B-I. And then they put out a film called Zombie Z-O-M-B-I 2, which is this film.
Not to like get super confused here, but when you get Dawn of the Dead on DVD here in America, they have the Argento cut as something you could see on it.
It depends on which version. There's actually 3 different cuts of the film.
On the one I have a theatrical and a special edition cut or something like that.
Yeah, so there's a theatrical, there's a director's cut, and then there's the Argento cut, and then there's, believe it or not, there's a 4th one, which is a fan dub, a fan edit, which found, like, for some reason on the director's cut, there's a couple of scenes that are missing that are in the theatrical version. So somebody went and pieced everything together and made this one version of Dawn of the Dead that's like 2 hours and 30 or 2 hours and 25 minutes long. But the Argento version I have on DVD somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where it is at the moment. If I still have it in my house or whatever, but there is, I believe, like the definitive edition box set Dawn of the Dead. I don't know if they ever put it out on Blu-ray, but I know they did a DVD version of it, and it came with the 3 versions. And
isn't the Goblin score on the theatrical Dawn of the Dead?
It is, but there's a lot more Goblin music on the Argento version.
Oh, okay.
So, like, you know, the scenes where they're like they're using like music that sounds like the shopping mall music in Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah.
That's not in the Argento cut. They used more Goblin music in there instead, I think.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but that's what I remember. I remember it being, if you watch the Argento cut, it's a lot shorter. They took out some of the dialogue. They took out some of the scenes that I guess.
I'm gonna hunt that down and see if I can. Like, I thought I had it, but I don't.
I have it on my Plex if you want to watch it. So.
All right, Eric, what's your favorite title?
Well, I was just going to mention Jason the Wolfman's comment here. He says, "I like Zombie 2 for having the balls to graft itself to the franchise." Chutzpah. And I was about to say that exact same thing. Just how ballsy it was for them to say, "Well, now we're taking on the franchise for our own, and this is going to be the sequel." It's not going to have anything to do with the first one, really. But
well, the funny thing is, and I'm sure we'll get into this stuff later, but this movie was actually written before Dawn of the Dead was released.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just trying to get the funding together to put it out. And then after Dawn of the Dead came out, and I think it was originally called Nightmare Island, was the original title. And after Dawn of the Dead came out, or Zombie, and it was doing really, really well, they, right as they were going into shooting, put a little bit more money in the budget and said, we need to shoot some stuff in New York. I don't want to have it all on the island. Let's kind of cash in on this thing and what have you.
Yeah.
So that was kind of interesting.
I do like that. I like when they do, actually, I like those stories of, they have this original script, and because of the success of something else, they're going to, target it differently. But even with that in mind, I still think that this, and then you could go into the Zombie 3 and all the other weird, and then they did it with the Demons franchise too. Some Italian movies are just the hardest to track down and figure out a timeline for, but that's probably a different discussion you can have on your round table.
Let's talk about Umberto Lenzi's Paranoia / Orgasmo. I mean, which one is it? Which one is it again?
So, yeah,
Ideal Place and Perfect Place or Good Place or something.
Yeah, and Alex mentions that Alex's comment was that the Argento version is the leanest, but the least captivating, but with the best Goblin. I think least captivating is probably a preferential thing. He's probably right, because in Dawn of the Dead, you really, really, really get into the characters. I mean, they really grow on you, because you're just kind of, you almost feel like you're with them in this film. I know we're not talking about Zombie or Zombie 2 or whatever you want to call it, but we're talking about Dawn of the Dead some more. But I think maybe that's the idea behind it being the least captivating. But if you wanted to watch something, I guess that was a little faster paced. But he says the longest version is called the extended mall hours cut, which is
hysterical.
That's the fan edit, from what I understand. That's the copy that I found. I found it somewhere. I don't remember where I found it, but I found it online somewhere, I think. And yeah, I'm not exactly sure the source material for the extended mall hours cut, but it has the theatrical and the director's cut and some other things. And I'm not sure what the source is for those other things, but like I said, it's almost 2.5 hours long. So. And
Jason says that he recognizes the irony of blending Italian with Yiddish. I thought it was flawless.
I tried to read it as flawlessly as he put it.
Okay, so let's talk about Zombie, the actual story. Does someone want to take that?
I just want to talk about the beginning. I don't know if I have the chutzpah to get through the whole plot, but a lot of people talk about all the gory imagery and the different scenes, the standout scenes, but I just think that the beginning is one of my favorite in any horror movie, because it's actually kind of just subtle almost. Other than the guy shoots the zombie in the bed and says the boat can leave now. It's just a shadow. You don't really know who it is or what boat he's talking about. And then all of a sudden you see this abandoned yacht or whatever, sailboat. on a crash course with New York City. There's nobody alive on it, just things rattling around, rolling around on the ground, and there's just something very haunting about that imagery, even though it's in the light of day. Just to imagine that being a reality, and that it was a reality with diseases coming over from other places, strange places on the boat, and just picturing that being a real life scenario was actually just kind of almost unsettling to watch a little bit. And so I just wanted to pipe in really quick and bring up that is one of my favorite scenes, even though I think it's kind of weird that a sailboat would have made it all the way there from the Caribbean. But it's just something I had to
autopilot, man.
I mean, we don't really want to get into some of the impossibilities of this film, right?
We will.
I think I'm with Eric. I mean, I've probably ticked into the triple digits in the number of times I've seen this movie, but I really took a lot of notice of how meticulous Fulci kind of directed the first, say, 10 minutes of the film. There's a lot going on there, and there was a lot. It seemed like I don't know if you guys have had done enough research on the production of this film, that it seemed to have a decent sized budget. And they filmed a lot of locations. They filmed, obviously, in the harbor in New York City, with the Staten Island ferry going across with that sailboat in the middle, and that whole, all the way up until the part where they go to so basically the first scene that is kind of that kind of takes off after the whole introduction scene is when they're at the newspaper, and Fulci himself is like the editor and calls the guy, whatever his name is. His name Peter? Is that?
Yeah, I think it's Peter Pumpkin Eater.
I don't know why I can't remember this guy's name, but so that scene, right before that scene, which was basically them getting to the boat and that whole thing with them shooting the one zombie and he falls off the side, and that, I mean, I really just took hold and jumped into how awesome that whole beginning part was.
Yeah, Alex said the boat can leave now, tell the crew. That's the line, that's the thing that reverberates through that whole thing. But yes, this was all the New York stuff was guerrilla filmmaking. They didn't have permits by any means. I did watch the commentary with Ian McCawcaw, the guy who played Peter. Did you guys watch that at all?
I did not.
Okay,
I may have watched it a long time ago, but
one of the things, a couple of things that he said about it was he got in trouble by the crew because when he was coming into New York, they asked him the reason for his visit, and he said he was working on a movie. And they're like, "What's the name of the company?" And he's like, "Oh, Variety Pictures or something like that." And they're like, "We don't have any record of them being here. You're not allowed to work here." And they put some stamp in his passport saying he's not allowed to work in America and all this other shit. And he's like, "Why did you tell them? Now they're going to be looking for us," and all this other shit. But when they were shooting at the newspaper place, that apparently was like a real media building, and they met a janitor who they convinced to let them come and bring their crew on this one floor when no one was on it so they could shoot on it. And while the Italian crew and everyone was running around, they ran into a conference room that had all these bigwigs in there, and apparently Rupert Murdoch was there.
Wow.
And was like, "Who the fuck are you? Get out of my building!" And then that janitor got fired. So, sad story.
Did they at least let him onto the crew?
Probably not.
As one of the zombies, maybe?
Maybe.
No.
But the other thing that was interesting is that Fulci originally wanted Peter to be American and to have English dialogue. But he was very insecure about his American English. And so at the last minute, asked if he could change it. So I'm sure the dub isn't like that, but that first scene with him in the newspaper office before he goes in to see Fulci, he was doing his American. And then when he went in and sat down, but I mean, they redubbed it anyway, so I doubt that it even came up or came across. But that's why Fulci added the line, don't put that proper...
Oh, yeah, your English prose.
Yeah, English prose, knock that shit off. And just because your uncle bought the paper doesn't mean you could do whatever the fuck you want or
right.
So...
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that line. I had
also
forgotten.
told him not to fall in love with every slut he meets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good advice for anyone.
Do you know how long it took to shoot this movie?
No.
Because his hair gets really thin.
Yeah, it does.
Like that last scene when they're on the boat, he looked like a completely different dude. His hair was a different color, and like it was like barely covering his head.
Yeah.
He was not the ladies' man we first met.
But apparently he got on the movie because he was in an Italian TV show in the mid-'70s called Survivors that one of the producers was a big fan of. So I think this was his first starring role in a movie. He was also in Where Eagles Dare, but I don't think it was a very big part, if I'm not mistaken.
Huh.
But then he was in a couple Italian movies after that, right? Some horror movies. Yeah.
He, the producer of this was happy with everything. So I can't remember which movie it was, but as soon as they were done shooting Zombie, they started shooting another one.
Okay.
And he also thought that it was going to be a comedy. Like, he didn't know it was going to be a horror movie because the first script he got was in Italian. And he couldn't read it. So he had no idea. And then, and the thing that's funny about this is that his family, he's from like a very well-to-do British family that has like people in like the House of Lords and House of Commons and shit like that. And his uncle was one of the people who had to watch movies and decide if they were going to be on the video nasty list. And when he heard about it, he told his uncle, he's like, well, you probably are going to see a couple movies I did in that stack. So, and his uncle said, oh, Ian, how could you?
Disgrace the family name.
So, that was pretty funny. But anyway, so the story goes, basically, this boat shows up, they shoot him dead, they shoot the zombie off the side of the boat after it kills one of the cops, and then they have this great scene, and I'm not going to play-by-play this, but there's this great scene in the morgue where they have really good makeup on the cop, who was actually a real cop, but when they lift the sheet off and take a look at his neck, and there's this black coroner and then this older white guy, and he's just like giving him shit about everything. Like,
yeah,
look at this. Oh, come here. I couldn't even cut whatever with this scalpel. Jeez.
Tissue paper.
Yeah, it's just like fucking. And the whole time I'm like going, fucking get up and kill that motherfucker. Come on, please. And that's one of the beauty things. It's just like you never see it. And then we have, is it Mia Farrow's sister or is it her daughter? It's got to be her sister, right?
Tisa?
Yeah. Well, her dad is whose boat it was, and he wasn't on the boat. So I think probably one of the worst shot scenes in the whole movie is when the cops are interrogating her inside the boat. And everyone's looking directly in the camera, and the camera's like turning. And I'm sure it was supposed to like build like this sense of like confusion, but to me, it just built a bad scene being shot. And
Right.
the cops were like giving her shit like she did something bad, you know, which is funny.
You didn't
But-
feel like you were under the hot lights with all those
Yeah.
cops looking at you?
It was crazy. And then her and Peter end up meeting because they both decide to break into the boat to look for clues. And their big way of getting out without getting in trouble is to pretend that they were on a date getting ready to bump uglies down below deck. And the cop comes in and he's like, "Get out of here." So that's how
he would have settled for a boxcar.
That's right. Boxcar Children.
Not a boxcar again. Yeah.
Not another boxcar.
It was
No
like
way.
a ridiculous conversation, but it worked. So,
Smart guy. He's been around the block.
yeah, they go to the airport. They're going to fly down to some fucking place to get something and go somewhere else.
What'd you
But what
think
I
of that
want to
airport?
talk about more than anything is that this is the most beautiful fucking terminal I've ever seen. Like, if I could ever decorate my house, it would look exactly like that fucking terminal.
The airport terminal? Yeah, I mean, was that JFK at the time?
Dude, that was
Yeah.
I Heart You. That was beautiful, dude.
Yeah. That was no LaGuardia.
But it's funny, too, because, like, you can't do that now because now it's just, like, rows and rows and rows of seats. Like little tiny chairs. You know? But, man, that
Right.
place looked like the most bitchin' cocktail lounge in the fucking galaxy. Oh.
Are you going to give that terminal the Universal Championship?
Yeah, that terminal just won the Universal Championship for doing absolutely nothing. So then they go down there and they meet, what's his name?
Dr.
His name's
Blandy
Al in real
Anderson.
life. What's his name on the movie? What?
The guy,
Brian?
Brian?
Is it Brian?
The guy who's
Brian's,
the captain of the ship, you mean?
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
has some fantastic hair. I mean,
Eric's probably said it like 5 times. What is it?
well, you said Brian, and then I said Brian, and then we
Oh.
both said Brian.
It might
Yeah,
be
it's
Brian.
the-
His name might be Kochak. Like I have no idea. But his hair is kicking and his
Oh, yeah.
beard is amazing. And he's wearing a Daily Planet shirt,
yeah.
which is kind of fun. And his girlfriend, who looks like a cross between a poor man's Adrienne Barbeau and something else, is there in a see-through shirt that's all nipple-y.
Mhm.
So you can't go wrong there. They decide that they're going to go look for this island that is cursed and all this other shit. And then they get over there. But not before some exciting things happen, like almost naked scuba diving, turning into almost getting eaten by a shark, turning into almost getting eaten by a zombie, turning into zombie versus shark. Now, this is what we got to talk about right now. Because this right here is the one moment that completely destroyed zombies, in my opinion. There's no way a zombie would be able to swim kicking his feet. I don't
I
think
agree
it's
with you.
possible. When zombies walk, they kind of lean and fall.
Yeah. There were a lot of movements he was making, just like the defensive movements.
It was just bullshit.
Yeah.
I
mean-
call bullshit.
I thought it was awesome.
It is. It's one of the most awesome things you've ever seen, but it's completely false. It would never happen in a million years.
I never even thought to. I don't know.
Critique it.
Yeah.
You're just like,
I
it's a
just-
zombie fighting a shark.
Yeah, right. I mean, how often do you see that? When I watch that scene, I keep thinking about how many times did they have to send something down for that actor to suck in some air? Like I would love to know the behind the scenes, how they edited that thing, and I know that it was a real shark, and I read somewhere that they had to give the shark some sedatives, and it was in a really big aquarium. It wasn't really out in the ocean or something like that.
Like what I heard, and this might not be accurate, there was a stuntman who was supposed to do it, and he couldn't do it. for some reason or another at the last minute. So the guy in there was the shark wrangler, who's, I guess that was his shark.
Right.
And if that place is anything, if that tank is anything like the tank at the aquariums out here, they have like blowpipes, like kind of like air hoses, like every so many feet.
Okay.
So they could do like mermaid stupid shit and all that other crap, and they just go down and suck a little bit and then go back to their shit. So yeah,
I think you got some. I was waiting for this controversy to spring up on the Q&A, and we got a little bit of. You incited something.
Yeah, and I knew I would, because this is a touchy subject, but it's complete bullshit.
30 years of it, 40 years of it.
Later on, we'll have hundreds-year-old corpses, and they are gooey and covered in flesh. And this is what you're complaining about realism. This is the part I'm complaining about now. This is the part we're at the film, Jason. I think this movie had really good makeup in general. The zombies look better than Dawn of the Dead, which is true if you like that muddy cake.
Yeah.
Better than the Italian zombie flicks that came out afterwards. That is true as well. Alex says, no way, I believed the zombie versus shark. The moment that took me out of this film was the existence of the conquistador zombie. We're getting to that too.
We'll be there.
Yeah, I imagine that would be the day I call in sick too. Okay, so here's the deal, folks. There's a little thing called entropy, okay? There's no way in a million fucking years that a rotting zombie would be able to use his core and all of his muscles to swim, let alone fight a shark. I enjoy the fact that it did it, but it's total bullshit. It can't happen. So anyway, so they do that. While this is going on, this really amazing British actor named Richard something, who, when Zoe was trying to explain it to me, I thought she said he was a West End lesbian. And then I said a couple things that made her upset. And then she had to reiterate that she said thespian and not lesbian. And but yeah, he's like the Royal Shakespeare Company, like a legit motherfucker, and he was doing this.
Well, his wife could have been a lesbian. Paula.
Oh, I bet
never know. She was a shut-in.
She looked like she had dipped her fingers into that pie a few times, if you know what I'm saying. So let's
got a little rug burn on her chin.
Oh. Let's talk about Paola for a second here. This is one of the things that's really weird about this movie, because she is someone who we are supposed to feel compassion for, because we don't know exactly how good or bad the doctor is yet, but we know this girl's being kind of held there against her will because of her husband, let's say.
Right.
But she's such a screaming fucking bitch. It's really hard to like feel compassion for her. And so when the zombies come for her, which is a great scene, and it has a ton of suspense in it, and has one of the most amazing death scenes in any fucking movie that anyone ever talks about, like, it's hard to like pull for her in it. So do you think that that was something that was done by Fulci because he kind of hates women anyway or whatever, and kind of wanted us to just root for the zombies as a fucking gutter? Or do you think he just doesn't have a very good sense of making women seem vulnerable in a believable way?
What was that?
I don't know. Can't.
Wild Californian beaver.
Some kind of air creature.
Oh.
Is it too early for wolves?
Might be a Pokemon.
A wild Eric has
That's right.
whatever.
So what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think they're
Can you say that again? No, I'm just kidding.
Can I repeat that super long?
I'm just kidding. Sorry.
I think the relationship that Dr. Menard and Paula have is very odd, and I noticed it from the first time I watched it. I tried to watch it a little more critically this time to talk about it because I knew it would probably get brought up, and I don't know if she was ever even meant to be sympathetic. I mean, she kind of has that that role because she's a shut-in. She disagrees with what he's doing as far as his practice, but he almost comes off more sympathetic in like a Dr. Frankenstein type way, where he's just like become mad with this science that he's doing, like science versus religion. And he's more of that character, and then she's just kind of like fodder for the zombies later on, and an easy kill kind of thing. And plus, you get to see her boobs in the shower.
But do you think, honestly, that was like intended that way, or do you think this has anything to do with Fulci's relationship with women?
Personally, I can hear an echo now. Distracting me.
I hear that too. And I hear me.
There's an echo?
Yeah, we're echoing.
Okay. Let me try to see if I can fix that.
Let me go on mute here.
How's that, guys?
Testing.
Nope. Still echoing.
Okay.
Are you trying to chase the bird away?
Yeah. All right. So, Chris, what do you think?
Hello.
Oh.
All right. I'm going to take my headphones off so that I can actually talk without hearing myself talk back to myself.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't know, like, Paula, I really think that she's there just because she ultimately is a giant spike through her eyeball. I can't understand why she's with the doctor. What is their relationship? My wife. But she reminded me of Michelle Pfeiffer's character. Like she was just strung out. Like I was waiting for her to like sip some like bourbon and do a few lines of coke while she got in the shower. Like she was all strung out. But as far as their reputation that she has about being misogynist, I thought that was Argento. I don't know enough about Argento to know about that. But I don't know. Like she was weird. There was no reason for her to make fun of him. Like, yeah, you really still think you're a scientist, don't you? You dick. You know, like I don't know what kind of relationship they really had, but ultimately,
she just seemed very upset the whole time.
Just stay behind so that she can endure this amazing murder scene and then become cafeteria for zombies.
Now, do you think the doctor knew that zombies were close to his bungalow, and that's why he left her there?
It almost sounded like you said bunghole.
That zombies were close to his bunghole.
Here's the thing. So I get this movie confused with Zombie Holocaust from time to time because there's a doctor and there's an island and it's also the same guy, Ian McCullough or whatever the hell his name is. And there's a scene where they go to the island and the doctor sends them away. And lies to them about where they really are. And in fact, they're on the right island and not the wrong island. So I don't know if you've seen that film, but it's very easy to get those two confused. But I think Maynard was legit like the whole time in the movie. Like, he went back to the hospital, and he's trying so hard to figure out how to logically understand this infection, making these people come back to life. But then, what he didn't understand was that what was making the recently deceased come back to life was also affecting the people that had been in the grave for years and hundreds of years. And now, all of a sudden, there's zombies everywhere. And there's like a scene where I think somebody, it's like one of his friends was dying, and he said, "Yeah, I saw a zombie in the town," and he's like, "Really, in this town? Like, close all the doors and lock them all up." So I think that he legitimately cared for his wife. I don't think that he purposely put her in a position where he knew that the zombie was going to come get her. But I don't know. I mean, that's my take on it. I'm a very trustworthy kind of person.
Well, real quick, Jason has brought up a good point. I don't know if he meant to, but it says, but if the zombie has bled out, he's completely invisible to the shark. He has a superpower. Now, I understand that, but does the shark turn into a zombie shark? Because the shark got bit. What happens then? Are there zombie sharks in the Caribbean?
We'll see that in the sequel, I guess. Are we doing the sequel?
Are we doing the sequel?
Zombie 3? I've never seen it.
Hello.
Did something get updated in your... Sorry to interject.
Did somebody what?
In your settings because the echo got really bad at the end of Chris's
It got
talk.
bad?
Yeah.
When Chris was talking, right?
Like a little bit towards the end, yeah. At least for me, I think other people were saying they could hear it throughout.
I didn't change the settings during his talk.
Okay. Did you at all before?
I'm gonna. Why don't I jump off and try to jump back on?
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I can kind of hear myself a little bit, but not as bad as him.
Are you hearing an echo now?
A tiny little bit. Like
Okay.
if I talk louder. Yeah. Did you change up your... I noticed you're not talking on your earbuds anymore.
I can't hear in them, dude. Like the volume in them is shit.
Oh.
But yeah, there's a zombie shark in the Caribbean. Okay. How's that, Chris?
I don't know. Oh, still echoing. What
Yeah.
the fuck? That sucks.
Who's editing it?
Well, Sanders' computer crashed. So we'll just say that this is my fault and we'll fix it in post. I'll take care of it.
Okay.
But anyhow.
Yeah, I don't know if the echoes come through on the when you actually save it down to YouTube.
Oh, when it gets
Okay.
downloaded.
So let me see here. Yes. Okay, so we're back on the island, and Homeboy crashes his truck because he can't possibly handle running over a zombie. And during the car crash, Peter's ankle gets broken or something. And so they start going for a walk in a graveyard. Okay? Not knowing it's a graveyard. And for some reason, this graveyard they're in is where all the conquistadors have been buried. From who knows when. Unless you're into your history and you know exactly when. But I don't know if this island is even real. So that might be a problem in and of itself. And then, what is her name? Susan? His girlfriend's name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adrian Barbeau.
She does two of the most ridiculous slow turn scenes. And every single thing that happened with her was totally avoidable. And she just fucking let it happen. And I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, what was going on with those two? It was like they were, I don't know, like exhausted or something from the struggle that they've been having. riding around in that old Land Rover. All the shit
Yeah.
that they'd seen, and she was just, like shell-shocked or something. She couldn't move or do anything.
But as stupid as conquistadors being buried there are, when that one from the video cover, when we first see him pulling up, it's awesome because his face is already kind of out of the ground, but you can't make it out, and it looks just like a rock or something like that.
Yeah.
And he just like starts leaning his head up and comes up, and that's just brilliant. That is such an amazing scene.
I know we're kind of goofing on it, but I love that slow rise of those conquistador zombies. And it's kind of ridiculous if they've been there for hundreds of years with this little worms in their eyes, but it didn't bother me too much. I like the imagery of it.
What do you think, Chris? And he's gone. Okay. Chris, I'm sure it's over here, man. We'll fix it. But while he's doing that, let's look at this. Alex says, if there are zombie sharks, what about zombie crabs? How about zombie alligators? What would be the worst zombified island creature?
Well, we did
My
see
answer would be hippopotamus.
Island creature?
Yeah, if there was a hippo on the island, that would be the scariest.
Water creatures, yeah. I did see that big crab. What was that crab called with like, the big claw? Kind of scurry across.
A masturbator crab.
Yeah. Yeah. He's kind of creepy. Worst island here. Zombie creature.
Obviously, there's a zombie shark in the Caribbean, but he can't find himself to know where he is, so he can't navigate anywhere. He will swim around in useless circles for eternity. That makes me feel a lot better.
Those damn things can live forever, too. Like the zombies live forever.
Zombie tortoise, it can pull his head in and become invulnerable.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, you can't shoot him in the head. Nice one, Jason.
Zombie jellyfish are kind of freaky, too, because they're kind of invulnerable in that way. Have a head.
What do you think, Chris? Okay, so Chris is hanging out. We can't hear him, but he'll be
Can you hear me?
there in a second. Yes.
Hey! I'm still fucking echoing.
I think it's
Awesome.
we determined it was creeps external speakers.
How about now? Because if you're still echoing now, I don't know what to tell you.
Hello? A little bit.
It's not as distracting.
No, I guess it's hard to talk and continue to have fluid conversation when you hear yourself talking back to yourself. That's all. Can you guys hear me okay, though?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so I'm not really sure what we were talking about. You were talking about mutant zombie animals, I guess.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And whatnot.
Very constructive.
What would be the worst zombified animal on the island?
Oh, it had to be like that armadillo. Wasn't there an armadillo that was walking by? Or a crab? There was a scene where, like, right out of some old western, tumbleweeds blowing past. And wasn't there a donkey that they drove past at one point?
Yeah, there's like a fucking donkey just sitting in the middle of the road, and the car's like jamming by. That's scary.
Well, here's the thing I wanted to bring up about this film that I thought was pretty cool. And you'll have to wave your hands if you want to interrupt me, because I've turned the sound down. You still hear me okay? Yeah, all right, thumbs up. Okay. What I liked about not even what I liked about this film, but the point I wanted to make about this film is that it seemed to be possibly, now I'm going to ask Creep to go and give me some reference information when we talk about the cannibal films, but it seemed like this might have been the very first film where it's like something happens, it starts out in New York City, and then they go to some sort of crazy jungle tropical thing. And then chaos ensues. I mean, they did that in Make Them Die Slowly. They did that in Cannibal Holocaust. They did that in what's the other one that Lindsay did? Eaten Alive by the Cannibals. They did that in Zombie Holocaust. It just seems like that's the pattern. Like we start in this metropolitan, quote-unquote, civilized environment, and then we go to this native environment where all the violence happens. And I know that the Cannibal Holocaust was like a commentary. Hey, look at, who are the real savages, but it seemed to be a device that they used a lot in these films, like maybe
Argento did it too.
This glamorous aspect to filming on location in New York City, and then going to wherever you needed to go to finish out the film. The other thing that I really liked about this film that made it really original is if you look at the zombie films that it was modeled after, Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead, you have this zombie threat in those two films, like right from the beginning. Night of the Living Dead, you got the guy in the graveyard, knocks Johnny over, and Johnny dies by hitting his head on the tombstone, and then Barbara gets chased to the car, and Barbara finds the house, and then within the first 15 minutes of the film, they're boarding up and they're dealing with these zombies that are coming after them. And in Dawn of the Dead, it's a little bit different, but still, they're always on the run, they're always trying to deal with the zombies. And in this movie, they really did a lot to set up the tension and kind of establish, like what's really going on here. And it wasn't until the very end where they all run to the hospital and they board themselves up. They have that final showdown where the zombies are coming in and doing a little slam dance against the door. And then it turns into this kind of ending where they're throwing Molotov cocktails and shooting everybody. I thought that was really unique and very cool if you consider the zombie films that came before this, and then if you consider what Fulci did after this film with the kind of supernatural zombies trilogy that he did after this.
Whoa, that's loud.
Jeez.
Once you heard that. Feedback.
We love getting feedback, and if you would like to send us feedback, just write to us at chowchownetwork@gmail.com. Moving right along. Trying to think. What did you think of the ending where they're burning down the church? Was that the best way to do it?
I thought they were just digging their own grave in a way. It was going to be a never-ending battle with those guys, but we were talking about burning down the first barn, and I think it was really again, go back to that interview. That's what this movie's all about. I don't know if Fulci cares about anything else. It doesn't seem like it at the end of the day, but just seeing that building, that church building, they're burning with zombies wandering around one after the other, just this never-ending wall of zombies. And they're just going to keep on fighting into the night. There's something, it could have ended right there, and it would have been, without them getting out and just like leave you wondering, were they ever going to, or how is this night going to end for them? And there's something kind of, the way it begins with that empty boat and then it ends here, it's just a depressing start movie with some comedic elements. But I liked it.
The ending to this film, I think, is just so fucking dark.
Yeah. Very nihilistic.
Because you have the bridge, you have the guys on it, you have their dead friend who's a zombie now, like rattling the fucking door. Like, what do you do? Where do you go?
Well, I know a lot of people really like the movie Pontypool because it's like an audio horror. It's set in a radio station and you hear everything in the world, but you don't see any of it. And if they hadn't shown that scene in New York, I think it would have been almost a better ending, because just hearing, they think they're safe, they're riding home on this boat, and then all of a sudden they turn on the radio and they hear that the zombies have taken over. And I think that could do worse things for your mind than. I mean, you got the Brooklyn Bridge, you got cars zooming up and down, like they don't even have a care in the world. It's not the apocalypse to them. It's just on that little walkway. There's those zombies. That takes a little bit away from it for me. I would have liked to just end it with that radio transmission.
Does anybody find it interesting that they were able to get a New York City radio broadcast at the same time?
Yes. But we don't know exactly how far away they were from New York, do we?
I mean, you think they're in the Caribbean, I thought.
I mean, had they been in the boat
Puerto
for
Rico?
a long time?
Oh,
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't think that boat was going to be getting them back to New York City.
Wasn't there something wrong with the propeller? They had to get it back to some
Yeah.
other island?
They couldn't, right before Brian passed out for good, he was like, we can't make this ship go any faster because the motor's going to give out at any moment.
Yeah. Yeah, so they had to get back to some other island, I think, and fix it, or they were going to run aground again or something to that effect. But they thought they would just turn on the radio to get, in touch with the real world again. Depressing. It just depresses me.
So all in all, this was an amazing movie.
But yes, it was amazing.
The soundtrack of this movie is ridiculous. And I can't find the very first song from the one that's called Sequence 1. So I'm still going to be looking for that, because that's a really upbeat mamba, baby.
There was some good island music in this movie.
It's good shit.
I like when they had that driver. They paid him some extra money. It just felt very like how it is down in Puerto Rico, even probably today still.
I just remembered something, senor.
Yeah. Give him that little bit of extra cash to take him to the secret boat that's going off the island.
The echo is gone, by the way.
It is. I don't know.
Because I muted my microphone. Because even though I've been doing the damn podcast like this for the last 4 fucking months, all of a sudden now it's a fucking issue. So let me.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
You can, once again, just like with the wrestling, everyone can blame me if they want. I'm a curse.
No. So the last thing I wanted to kind of go over with you guys was the zombie film series in general, because this is an extremely confusing piece of fun. So in Italy, of course, Dawn of the Dead was Zombie and released in 78. Zombie 2, which is the movie we're talking about right now, was released in 79, and then Zombie 3 was released in 88. Now, the British series of this, it's called Zombie Flesh Eaters, okay? And while it follows the Italian series in proper order, it ignores Dawn of the Dead as the first entry. So, Zombie Flesh Eaters starts with Zombie 2, Zombie Flesh Eaters 2 is Zombie 3, and then Zombie Flesh Eaters 3 is a completely separate film called After Death. If you guys have seen that. In Germany, it starts off, it's like the Italian series, and starts off with Dawn of the Dead, but ignores Fulci's Zombie 2 because in Germany it was released there as Voodoo. So this is how that one goes. Zombie, which is Dawn of the Dead, and then Zombie 2 is Day of the Dead, and then Zombie 3 was the original Italian Zombie 3. In Thailand.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Zombie Flesh Eaters, which is Zombie 2, and then Zombie Flesh Eaters 2, which is Zombie 3, Zombie Flesh Eaters 3, which is After Death, and then Zombie Flesh Eaters 4, which is a film called Killing Birds. If you guys are familiar with that. Now, The American series. This is where shit gets really fucking stupid. Although the American series begins with Zombie 2 and continues in the established sequence, some of the films were retitled again, and the titles do not follow numerical order. Okay? So, Zombie was Zombie 2, and then the next zombie film to come out was Zombie 3. So they never put out a Zombie 2 in America. Zombie 4 was After Death. Zombie 5 was Killing Birds. Now, in the 90s, this company called TZ Video put them all out again, and this is where stuff gets real fun. So, Zombie comes out, and then they put out Zombie 2, but it's the exact same movie as Zombie.
Okay.
So, they have two of the exact same movie. And then they have Zombie 3 as Return of the Zombies starring Paul Naschy. Zombie 4 is A Virgin Among the Living Dead, directed by Jess Franco. Zombie 5 is Revenge in the House of Usher, also directed by Jess Franco. And this is the fun bit. Zombie 6, Monster Hunter, is the Joe D'Amato movie Absurd, which is a sequel to Anthropophagus. Okay? Zombie 7 is Anthropophagus. Alright?
So the sequel of the one came before it, but now... Okay.
Yeah. So, some places have released Let Sleeping Corpses Lie, or Murder at Manchester Morgue or whatever, which is an amazing movie, as one of the zombie movies. Zombie Holocaust has been released as Zombie 3. Nightmare City has been released as Zombie 3. Burial Ground has been released as Zombie 3. A movie called Panic was released as Zombie 4 in Greece. And that's about it. So, it's had a very horrible... The 90s were bad to this franchise.
I think I knew the one about Burial Ground. I knew all those other... I knew the American one was messed up. Did you have any for our Australian listeners?
I don't, and that's straight from Wikipedia, people.
Okay.
As you can tell, I was reading.
I just remember trying to follow the demons lineage.
That helps me know that, because I always wanted to find Zombie 2, and I didn't understand why my video store had Zombie and Zombie 3.
They're the same film.
Now we know.
know.
Nasty Nashy. So it was cannibalism if a zombie eats itself, a la Anthropophagus. I'll go with that. Alex. And then going back to our New York thing, Jason said, considering it was New York in the 70s and 80s, there weren't really downgrading that much in terms of danger, but that's getting ahead of the ending. I don't know why all of a sudden all of these shit planes want to fucking
crop dust you?
Take off over the fucking lake. Here, I will...
Alright. Well, Creep's muting himself for the planes. Wave to the planes, people in the planes. Yeah, I mean, being the baby of the group, I don't know anything about New York during that time frame, but from all I hear and all I see in these trashy movies, it's maybe zombies isn't that much of a downgrade, like he was saying. I don't know. There's probably just real life zombies there.
Yeah, well, the whole Times Square thing, right?
Yeah.
During that time was pretty crazy.
So, as far as next time, is there a movie you guys would like to do next time?
For a horror Ciao Ciao.
For a horror Ciao Ciao.
That's a good question.
How long since I had this? I
Can't really
I
think of
did
one.
see no one get-
I can think of one quickly if nobody has a suggestion.
Yeah, go for it.
Just give me a second.
Oh.
But he wasn't a zombie and anthropophagus, I don't think, just a cannibal. He was some kind of something. He was like, wasn't he fucked with a certain amount? Or like a demon spawn or something? What was the priest deal on that one?
I'm naive to this whole discussion.
I just like
haven't
to
seen
imagine.
that movie in so long. I have no idea what it was.
Anthropophagus?
Yeah, I mean, I remember it being about some guy on an island, cannibal or something.
It has elements of like a slasher movie because it's just this one fucking dude. Unless I'm getting it confused with absurd, but it's just one dude going around who's like got superpower strength and eating people and shit. And this priest and this other dude are trying to stop it. I just like to imagine New York Ripper running out offing hookers and then running into a zombie horde. That's funny as shit, Jason. That's a good one.
Well, I don't know. Do you guys want to do another Fulci film or some other director?
Let's do somebody else.
I would throw out the church. I don't know. I was talking about in lineage. We could talk about it with that one.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. The church.
Okay, cool.
La Chiesa.
The church. La Chicha.
Isn't that Michel Suave?
Yep, the stage.
Yeah. Was that his first movie?
No, Stage Fright.
Yeah.
Stage Fright was. Sanders says demons. That is on the list, sir.
Yeah, that's like doing Deep Red number
For
one.
realsies.
We had to put that one off for a while.
Well, right on. Well, sorry about the technical difficulties. I will fix that up and make it all sexy pants.
Get your IT crew Zoe to look at it.
Yeah. She's about as good of an IT crew as I'll save that comment. But anyhow, but yeah, so thank you guys for hanging out, and until next time we do this, ciao ciao everybody.
Ciao ciao.
Ciao, ciao.